I should be live. And I am. I am live. Hey, it's worked. Yes, it seems to be working. That's good. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to this live stream. I want to say a big hello to David Splendid Isolation and to Seth Aaron Fletcher. Hello, David. How you doing? And we've got Seth Aaron Fletcher there as well. Hello, Seth. How you doing? And Johnny Fettler and Hugo Roon. Hugo, got the spliffs out yet, mate? Yeah, this is an unusual time for me to do a live stream. I don't think I've ever done one at this time of day before. I've literally just got home from work I got home from work about half an hour ago, and I've been setting everything up. This probably won't be a long one, actually. The main one is going to be tomorrow at 9 p.m. It'll be much about the same subject as this one today, but it'll be a much longer one, more detailed. I'll be taking on some of the all defenders of what you might call the official story for this. Excuse me, I've got a cough coming on as well. Hope you're all right. Spliffs in the tin. Nice one, Hugo. I won't tell anyone you said that. Yeah, so thanks for joining us, David and Seth and Johnny and Hugo at this unusual time. It's the reason I'm doing the live stream at this unusual time of day is because it's literally 10 years ago to the minute that Captain Zaharie Ahmad Shah called air traffic control at the Kuala Lumpur airport. That he was at the sea gate of the satellite terminal and asked for clearance to push back from the gate. And what happened was at that moment, air traffic control gave the affirmative, and an airport tug started pushing the plane away from the gate where the passengers, 227 passengers had just got on board. So that's where we are now. So we're literally at that point. For the people on board the plane, that was it. I think they were already. No one had any idea anything strange was going to happen. Hello, Green Tea. Greetings from the States. 10:30. Hey, how you doing, Green Tea? I don't think I'd get any of my American viewers at the moment because, I mean, the reason I switched my general live streaming time evenings from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. so I could get more people from that particular time zone. This isn't right. David Splendid Isolation says, wasn't Amelia Earhart's granddaughter on board flight MH370? I don't know. There was only one American, as far as I know. I mean, Amelia may have had relatives in other countries as well. I mean, but there was one American. There were 6 Australians. All the other people were Malay or Chinese, I believe. Although I can't have that for sure who was actually on that plane. I know there was. Here we are. The 12 Malaysian crew. The 12 crew were all Malaysian, 227 passengers from 14 different nations. That's right. Okay. Interestingly, two of them were on fake passports, and I think that's a very... Here we are. Here's the breakdown of the various people. There were 153 Chinese, 50 Malaysians, but there were also 6 Australians, 2 Canadians, 4 Frenchmen, of course, including Ghislaine Waterloo's family, 5 Indians, 7 Indonesians. There was 2. This is 2 from Iran, but I think they were fake passports. 1 from the Netherlands, 2 from New Zealand. I think Paul Weeks might have been New Zealand. I know Danica Weeks is New Zealand. He's a New Zealander, I believe. 1 Russian, 1 Taiwanese, 2 Ukrainians, and 3 Americans. There were three Americans. No Brits. No one from my country. Now, Jeff Wise has made a big deal about there being Russians on board. It says here there were. I mean, the breakdown of the passengers was somewhat suspicious in my view. There were the 2 guys on fake passports. Now, they were Iranians and they were on fake. I think they had fake Dutch passports. Now, the official story was that they were trying to get to Germany. They were trying to get refugee status in Germany. Well, look at the map. I mean, no one is presumably they weren't too stupid to read a map. Beijing is in the opposite direction to Germany. Doesn't make any sense. Oh, David. Sorry, my joke was in poor taste. David, don't worry, mate. I'm an ex-hospital porter. I've heard worst. Hello, Derek. How are you, sir? Oh, sorry, is that your name, Derek? Can't remember. Anyway, welcome. Don't worry, David. It's all right. Interesting thing about Amelia Earhart. For those tiny few percent of you who actually read her Panama Voice, I wrote an article about this a while ago. Here we go. There we go. Amelia Earhart plane found. This is very interesting. Amelia Earhart, this lady, she was an aviator. I mean, you hardly ever hear the word aviator nowadays, do you? Because you can't call people aviators anymore because flying is most people have been on planes. Most people have been on planes and they've flown long distances. They've flown very long distances for like a weekend in the sun. It seems hard to believe that there was a time when it was actually taking to the air in a plane, especially for long distances, was really something quite adventurous. It was like space travel. And David says fake passports. That's weird. No sign of terrorism. Well, apparently, David. Apparently. Hello, Pie Pounder. How you doing? But it's possible Amelia Earhart's plane might be found. It may be, and the people searching for it are Ocean Infinity, the same people who are going to try and there's going to be another search. They're going to try another search for MH370. It would be very if any of her family had been on that plane, it would have been very, very strange because the Amelia Earhart disappearance was the MH370 of its time. The plane went missing. It was in the middle of the Pacific. Now, there were radio transmissions between Amelia and the ground, which indicates she was running out of fuel and was lost. And she must have ditched in the sea, maybe tried to get out onto a life rafts and couldn't, or the plane sank too quickly, or they got on the life rafts and the life rafts wouldn't float, or something like that. But anyway, it's good to see you guys. It's good to see you all. 10 years ago, the plane would be taxiing along the airport to along the Kuala Lumpur International Airport taxiways to the airport to the runway. There was a 3-mile long runway which they were going to take off from, and they were at that time. Captain Shah was taxiing the aircraft, was driving the plane, and co-pilot Hamid was actually on the radio. This switched over when they got to Shah was going to let Hamid fly because this was the first time Hamid had actually flown a 777 qualified as a 777 pilot. I mean, he'd been flying since for about 6 years for Malaysia. And he'd been training. He'd been a cadet pilot, and he'd flown lots of other places. He wasn't qualified to fly a 777 until this particular flight. This is the first time ever he was going to be qualified to fly a 777. And so it was a big moment for him. Just 27 years old. Funnily enough, there's been no suspicion pointed at Farik Mohammed, Farik Hamid, but there's been a lot of fingers pointed at Captain Shah. A lot of points, Captain Shah. David, should we feel nervous knowing that Middle East, Far East Muslims are the pilots? I don't think so. No, I mean, I don't think so, David. No, I mean the thing is, firstly in Malaysia, I mean that's nearly everyone, and someone's got to fly the planes. And secondly, I mean, I don't go along with this sort of post 9/11 idea that Muslims are the new world order or anything like this. I don't buy this Tommy Robinson line. Tommy Robinson has this vision of this new world order threat, but for him, it's Islam down the line. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. Now, the thing about Captain Shah, everyone's pointing fingers at Captain Shah. He was one of their top pilots, 53 years old, been flying for 30 years. He was known to be very, very level-headed. He was likable. He was outgoing, funny. They said he was jovial. David said, personally, I feel much safer knowing there are solid, trad British pilots at the helm. Well, so David, so would I. But that's inevitable because that's our nation, isn't it? Yes, best pilots in the world by far, of course. And you and I think, share some patriotic sentiment, and it's inevitable. This doesn't mean that I would be automatically feel unsafe with a pilot from another nation or from a different religion. I wouldn't. But a lot of fingers have been pointing at Captain Sharp, and it's inevitable. Him being the one of the leading pilot in the cockpit, he was in overall control of the plane. So it's inevitable that fingers will point at him. But and there's been a lot of accusations. I mean, a lot of assumptions. I mean, God knows how his family feeling. I mean, they were interviewed for this documentary. Have you seen the Netflix documentary? How many have seen the Netflix documentary? The MH370, the flight that disappeared. If you don't have Netflix, well, without giving too much details, it can be found elsewhere. Pie Pounder says a real complete mystery. This compounded by the second 777 shot down by the Russians. Well, it was. Well, was it a second 777? I mean, there's this theory going around that actually was MH370. Actually, that's actually not true. It's got a different serial number on it. Also, also they're both Malaysian Airlines. That's Pie Pounder. It's a really interesting point though, that Malaysian Airlines suffered from an awful lot of bad luck. Within the space of just a couple of months, one of their planes disappeared and the other one was shot down. Now that is awfully bad luck, considering that today's air travel is actually very, very safe. If you watch Rich Planet TV, Richard D. Hall has got this idea that it was because there was this summit, there was this peace summit going on in Malaysia, and I remember Alfred Weber was part of it. I can't remember what it was all about. It was something. I can't remember exactly what it was to do. Something to do with Israel and Syria. I can't remember the details, but there's he believes that this could have been done as an attack against Malaysia, taking out 2 planes from their national carrier within the space of the same month. I don't believe that. The MH17, the plane shot down over Ukraine, was not the same aircraft. Secondly, it was not shot down by the Russians. It was shot down by persons unknown, by a Buk missile, which is a Russian surface-to-air missile, but it was shot down by persons unknown and blamed on the Putin regime in Moscow, of course, like everything including the extinction of the dinosaurs, is currently being blamed on Russia. I've not seen it, Ben. But I should. Do they make any conclusions at all? No conclusions, but they go into some of the alternative ideas. What if Diane Abbott was the pilot? Would you get on the plane? Yes or no? I think that's a big, round, unmistakable no, Welsh Ripper. If Diane Abbott was the pilot, we wouldn't need. If the plane got lost, there'd be no mystery, would there? There'd be no mystery. Yeah. She'd be flying over the middle of the Indian Ocean so she wouldn't have made a slave by all these evil white people. As a passenger, oh God, imagine me sat next to her in the economy seats. She'd be in first class, of course, but God, she must be a pain in the ass, Oh, she'd be going up the way she'd look at the stewards and stewardesses, I mean, it wouldn't be so bad on Malaysian Airlines because they're all Malaysian, but imagine on British Airways. Is it necessary for a white person to serve me? Is there no one else? She'd be like that, wouldn't she? Okay, it was round about now, 10 years ago. This is the crucial moment. 0042, that's 1642 UTC, that's today, that right now. Flight 370 is given clearance to take off and takes off from runway 32R. Just in a couple of minutes' time. And that's when things are kind of like, things get a bit more when I say interesting and upsetting and worrying, and of course, I mean, right. So what was the reason the tracking module was lost? Well, the secondary radar transponder was switched off. We'll come on to that in a minute because it happens very soon. It happens in just about 40 minutes time 10 years ago. The ACAR system that was also disabled within the space of a very short time. A lot of people speculated that in order to disable the ACAR system, that is the SATCOM. There's a satellite transmitter on the plane as well. So there is a secondary radar transponder which it communicates, basically sends a signal back when the navigation radar from air traffic control detects it. That was switched off. We know it was switched off manually, or actually we don't know. The report said it was switched off manually. They can tell if it had just failed, it would have been different. But if someone did actually turn the knob, because for just a brief moment it went onto a separate setting before it was switched right off. And then some people speculated in order to switch off the SATCOM and the ACAR system, you'd have to literally switch off auxiliary power. Yeah, David. Disabling transponder. Where have you seen that before? Someone called 911. 911, 9/11. Yes, September the 11th, 2001. What's interesting, David, is that it's thought that on the planes that on 9/11, the ACAR SATCOM was not switched off. So technically, it would have been possible to know where those planes were. Now, whoever it was, if it was indeed Captain Shah who did it, I doubt that. I think Captain Shah is a bit of a scapegoat, to be honest, and I'll explain why. Both today, if there's time, and also tomorrow evening. Pipe Pounder, what they did was he switched off both. He switched off the ACAR system and the transponder, or someone did. Diego Rivera, were UFOs involved? You've been watching Ashton Forbes, haven't you? You know, we'll come on to him. Aha! Hello, hi ho, and jolly well, Code. Hello, Coda. How are you, sir? Happy Unwind Day to you. Just going to take a look at my notes. Okay. I'm just going to quickly check in case someone's on the wrong. Is someone on the? I just want to check someone's not on this live stream, right? This is tomorrow's live stream. Neil Peel is on. Oh god, he's on tomorrow's live stream. Sorry, Neil Peel is here, but he's on tomorrow evening's live stream. I've already uploaded. Okay, I say Neil, we're not doing this one till tomorrow. This is today's live stream. A little link. I'll just send him a little link there. So, Neil, so we're over on this one, Neil. Okay, mate. Here we go. I hope no one else. So there we go. Yeah. Okay. Oops. Was it shot down? Was it shot down by a fanny? Oh, you've got to have the fanny jokes, haven't we? Yes. I don't know. That's the Hispanophones. They might as well just keep saying the OVNI. Why do they have to change it? It's just it's like UAP, UFO, I suppose. Anyway, so the plane took off. I actually have here the actual conversations began at 12:20. Actually began at 12:25 p.m. where it was good morning, and then air traffic control. So Malaysia 6 cleared departure 6,000 feet, squawk 21906 squawk. This is the squawk refers to the transponder code. That's for the secondary radar. And then ATC asked for level, and then at that time it was actually Shah who's on the radio. We're ready, requesting flight level 350 to Beijing. 12:26, 39 seconds, air traffic controlled. Malaysian 370s cleared to Beijing via PIBOS. That's a departure 6,000 feet, squawk 2157. 12:26:45 Beijing, PIBOS 6,000, squawk 257. MAS370. Thank you. Welcome over to ground. Because there's different air traffic controllers, you see. So there's the airport air traffic controller. That's the radio one he was talking to. There's the ground air traffic controller. Then there's the airports, like there's Lumpur, which is the Lumpur Air, which is the space around Kuala Lumpur Airport. And then there's that's actually the area where he left just before the plane went dark. So 12:27:34 Lumpur ground morning pushback start approved runway 32 right exit via Sierra 4. 12:27:40 pushback start approved 32 right via Sierra 4 POB 329 Mike Romeo Oscar. I don't know what that means. ATC copied. 12:32 request taxi. So at that point the tug pushed the plane away from the gates. The gangway the jetway had been disconnected. The doors were shut. There you go. The cabin crew shut the doors. ATC says at 12:32:38, taxi to holding point Alpha 11 runway 32 right in standard route. Hold short of Bravo. That's just giving directions for taxiing. And then 12:36:30 tower MAS. Good morning. 12:36:38. Good morning, Lumpur Tower holding 10:32 right. 12:36:50 Alpha 10 MAS 370. It's all normal. It's all normal dialogue between the cockpit and the air traffic control. 12:38 ATC 370 line up 32 right Alpha 10. Right, cleared for takeoff. Good night. That is when the ground controller has no more dealings with the plane, because the plane's then in the air. And indeed, at 12:40 p.m. the plane takes off. 12:41 a.m. Sorry, 12:41 a.m. and then by 12:46 passes from ground ATC to outboard radar control. Departure Malaysian 370. So he transmits that to the air traffic control, and then we have Lumpur control here. 12:42 Malaysian 370 Selamat Pagi. Now that's actually Malay. It means good morning. Selamat Pagi. Pilots and air traffic control always speak to each other in English, but they will sometimes slip in words of their own language. When they speak to each other in the cockpit, the two pilots would speak in their own language. Selamat Pagi means good morning. Identified climb. Flight level 180 cancel. And this is interesting. Cancel SID turn right to Igari. Now this is interesting. The plane was redirected at the last minute. It was actually a shortcut. But the MH370 was redirected. It skipped 3 or 4 waypoints and went straight to waypoint Igari, which is the infamous one, isn't it? It's the infamous one. Flight waypoint Igari. The waypoints are like junctions. If you imagine the hello, we have here. Welcome, hello everybody. We have to say hello to everyone. Stanley Schmoozer says, well, Code from the Grail Beyonders. Hello, Code. Yes, Code. Oompa Loompa. Oompa Loompa. It's a lovely word, isn't it? Kuala Lumpur. Hello, Saturday Sani. How are you? Nihilist Lives Matter. Greetings. Hello, Mark 1. Hope you're doing well. Yeah. Coda. Dumply Upload. Deep Joy. Yeah, oh, right, here we go. What's this? Something just popped up. All right. Oh, standard instrument departure. Thank you very much, Pipe Pounder. All right, thank you very much. Well, this one of these, obviously one of these aviation geeks. So cancel SIDs. That's so skip the waypoints in between. Turn direct to Igari. So the plane was given. It was actually a shortcut. This redirect. If you imagine the airways as roads, the waypoints are like junctions, or they're points along the way between the roads, which the planes fly between. So in other words, if you imagine a road as having little dots on it and the cars drive between the dots, that's how it worked. Okay. So Then Set 370 acknowledges, and then air traffic control orders 370 to climb to flight level 250. That's 25,000 feet. And at this point, it's actually Hamid flying. It's co-pilot Hamid, and Shah is actually on the radio. He says, Malaysian 370, climb flight level 370. And ATC says, Malaysian 370, climb flight level 350. That's 35,000 feet. And then he replies, flight level 350, Malaysian 370. At just after 1 a.m., so there's a bit of a silence for 10 minutes. Funnily enough, this is then repeated. For some reason, this conversation is then repeated again. Malaysian 370, maintaining level 350. Now, he's already actually made that transmission before. He's given that information before. And then air traffic control simply acknowledges again Malaysian 370. Apparently, this is not unusual. This is not unusual. And this is like... because some people have tried to read some things into Shah's transmissions, because he made that transmission twice, and some people think that's suspicious. The thing is, what Captain Shah had for breakfast that morning is going to be regarded as suspicious because of this. Hey, Neil, I'm glad you made it, mate. Yeah, glad you made it. Covered this in my Unexplained Mysteries book. I expect a full report on my desk tomorrow. Thanks. So I'll do what I can, sir. France Airlines. God, that wouldn't get very far, would it? Welsh, how many of the planes can be controlled from the ground at the tap of a button? The pilot becomes a passenger too. Apparently, according to the Netflix documentary and according to these journalists, that the pilot still has the ability to override. Now, there was remember, Dov Zakheim after 9/11 tried to wanted to install a system which made the planes basically, could turn the planes into drones, but this was apparently can't be done right now. The pilot still can override that. And then at 1:07 a.m., there's a bit of 1:07 a.m. Shah then radios Malaysian 370, maintaining level 350. So just that he's repeating that again. And at that point, the last transmission is made by the ACAR system. Now, the ACAR system sends a pulse every 30 minutes, which relays key information on the plane's location, mechanical condition, everything else, every 30 minutes to a satellite. That's the other way the plane can be located, not just the secondary radar transponder. That takes place at 1:07 a.m. and is meant to take place every 30 minutes after that. However, it never happens again. The ACARS never again makes a signal. And then at 1:08 a.m., ATC just acknowledges that repeat of the same transmission, Malaysian 370, maintaining level 350. By then it had reached cruising altitude. And then, of course, this is 10 years ago, not long from now, 10 years ago. And then finally, the fateful final conversation between ATC and MH370. 1:24 a.m. Air traffic control says Malaysian 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9, good night. Now, that was because MH370 reached the edge of the Malaysian air traffic control zone. It was about to move at waypoint Agari. It would move into the Vietnamese air traffic control zone, and that's what that meant. So basically, the Malaysian air traffic controller was telling him to contact the Vietnamese air traffic controller and wish him a good night. At 1:19:29, immediately, in other words, Shah replied, "Good night, Malaysian 370." And that was the last ever transmission from MH370. A lot of people have made a big deal about the fact that he wasn't supposed to say that. He was supposed to say Malaysia 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9, good night. He was meant to repeat what ATC had said back so that the air traffic controller knew he understood. And a lot of people said, well, that's suspicious. Shah did that because he was about to take over the plane, and but no, that apparently, that even though that is a breach of regulations in terms of radio protocol, that is, despite that, pilots sometimes do that. Sometimes pilots do skip that in airspace they're familiar with, and air traffic control don't mind. And that was at 1 minute. That was 1:19 a.m. 29 seconds. And then at 1:21 a.m., the secondary radar transponder switched off. And we know that ACARS were switched off as well because there were no further ACARS transmissions or receptions from SATCOM. Yeah. A lot of people have said things like, well, he chose that particular position because it was between the two airspaces, so he could just slip away, and neither of the air traffic controllers would notice. But other people have called that into question, such as Jeff Wise and Florence Deshanji. I'll be saying more about them tomorrow evening. Now, funny enough, it was 17 minutes later. Let me just go to the timeline. Yeah, it was 70. Yeah, when was it here? 01:30. Oh, what? So 01:21. The position symbol of flight 1370 disappears from Kuala Lumpur ACC radar, indicating the aircraft's transponder is no longer functioning. Now, this is a bit of a discrepancy because then it says Malaysia military radar tracks the aircraft, which is almost immediately begins a left turn until it is traveling southwest. Now, again, that's where I think things get a bit dodgy, because it was actually 01:39. Ho Chi Minh Air Traffic Control contacts Kuala Lumpur Air Traffic Control to inquire about Flight 370 and report that verbal contact was not established. And it disappeared from its radar screens near the waypoint Bytod. So that's a bit further on. Florence makes this point that things weren't quite what they seemed to be, because the plane actually did reach waypoint Bytod, which is actually, it was meant to turn right slightly, and then a few miles further there was another waypoint called Bytod. Now, a lot of this doesn't make sense, because then nothing else happens till 01:52. Flight 370 reaches the southern end of Penang Island. Now, at that point, co-pilot Hamid's mobile phone was registered with a mobile phone tower. That's what we're told. But there was no text messages, no calls made. Several other aircraft attempt voice contact there. That is using a VHF radio. There's an attempt to reach the plane via good old-fashioned VHF radio. Nothing happens though. Apparently, it doesn't work. But there are a lot of discrepancies here. Firstly, it took Ho Chi Minh ATC 17 minutes to raise the alarm. I'll go through all my notes here. I won't do the notice comments. I'll do those tomorrow. Why did it take them 17 minutes to raise the alarm? I mean, the official story here is that Captain Shah, VHF Betamax radio, Neil, they're not that old and decrepit. we're told that Captain Shah, of course, is inevitably going to be the prime suspect. I think he's been made a bit of a scapegoat. We're told that he had this plan, that he planned it in advance. He topped Neil. Hello, Tessa. How are you doing, Tessa1111? How are you doing? He'd planned to crash the plane in the middle of the Indian Ocean, because what we're told is the plane then turned back, basically turned southwest, went right across the Malay Peninsula, out into the Andaman Sea, and was tracked. It was tracked by primary military radar the whole time. 20 minutes it took to cross that landmass. And what did the Malaysian Air Force do about it? What did the Malaysian Air Defence Command, Airspace Defence Command, say? What did they do? How did they react? How are you supposed to react when an aircraft no one knows about, an unknown aircraft? At the moment, the airline and air traffic control say, "Where the hell has the plane gone?" Now, they would immediately have made a report to the Malaysian Air Defence Command, who would then have would been trying to locate the plane via primary radar. Now, what should have happened? What would have happened, guys? You could probably guess. What does any nation do since 9/11? What does any nation do when they detect a plane suddenly goes quiet or goes off course? Now, Tessa, yes, you made a good point. We'll come on to that. If we don't cover it this afternoon, we'll cover it tomorrow evening. Bingo, Pie Pounder. They scramble fighters, yes. And this is always done. I know that because there's a quick reaction alert there. Firstly, there's two air forces, the Malay Air Force. The Australians also have an air base there, which assists the Malay Air Force. And indeed, this happens in Britain as well. In fact, there was an incident. There was an incident not long ago that I reported on where a plane had problems with its communication. It was flying. It was only a short haul flight, I think, between Norway and I think Luton, and it lost touch with air traffic control. And apparently, it's something was wrong with its ACARS or with the transponder. Immediately, quick reaction alert. The Royal Air Force scrambled Typhoon jets, 2 Typhoon jets. They intercepted it within minutes and basically made contact with the plane and relayed information to ATC, and the plane landed safely at Luton. This happens quite regularly. Hello, 69 Phuket. How are you? What earth is? I mean, the official story. I mean, I've been watching this ridiculous documentary that tries to basically it's a hate Sahari Shah fest. Basically, it's called MH370. What the Netflix series got wrong, I think it's called. Let me have a look. Give it its full title. MH370. What Netflix got wrong. That's it. And it's basically, I say, it's a hate Captain Shah orgy. Oh, he flew along the Malay-Thai border. Have you seen the Malay-Thai border? If he flies along the Malay-Thai border, neither Airspace Defence Command will spot him. Well, the Malay-Thai border is really jagged. It goes up into a panhandle to the northwest. It's very, very jagged, very uneven. Lots of sort of like lots of panhandles and kind of salients. What on earth are they talking about? What on earth they talk about? And then there's this ridiculous story. He wanted to fly over Penang one last time because apparently Captain Shah, he comes from Penang and he wanted to see his hometown one last time. And there's even this story that he turned the plane around so he could look out the windows at his hometown. We know that because Malay military radar tracked him across them for 20 minutes, flying across the Malay Peninsula, and they did nothing. Are we supposed to believe that? Are we supposed to believe that? I don't believe it for a minute. I believe that for 1 second. So something else, in my view, something else happened here. I don't know what it is. I'm not sure exactly what. But indeed, I think that everything the governments have told us since then has, and Malaysian Airlines and the governments have told us since then has been some kind of distraction, some kind of excuse. Oh, Phuket, yeah, it's someone's got it in for Malaysia. Well, according to the Rich Planet, there was some kind of peace conference or something which Alfred Weber was involved in, and for this reason, that the bad guys in the grey suits decided to punish Malaysia by destroying 2 of their planes. I don't believe that myself. I don't believe that myself. It is awfully bad luck for an airline to suffer 2 major accidents in such a short space of time, though, to lose 2 aircraft like that. But you see, I'm not the only one who thinks this. Some of the relatives of the passengers think this. I mean, if you watch the Netflix documentary, some of them are interviewed. Not all of them are. Not all of them do. I mean, not all, but there's Jiang. There's Jiang, the Chinese guy. He's leading the campaign in China, and they are so sure. They're so sure that something's wrong. That there was a riot outside the Malaysian embassy in Beijing, and it takes a lot to make the Chinese riot, because the Chinese government takes a very hard line against rioters. They will send in the police. None of this. They'll take the knee and then just let them destroy everything. None of that crap you get in the West. They will send in the police with batons and with shields, and they will literally they'll crack skulls. And when you're in court, you'll get a very heavy sentence. You'll get a very long prison sentence for rioting. But the relatives rioted outside the Malaysian embassy because they said that they're covering something up. And some of them still think that. I mean, there was interviewed the most interesting person who was interviewed was Gilles Waterloo. Now he's the man known as the Angry Frenchman. He lost his wife. Well, his wife and 2 of his 3 children were on that plane. I say lost. I don't want to use words like that. Well, if it's a new Boeing 737, the doors fall off and the windows pop out. Yeah, goodness me. I mean, what's happening with planes these days? The thing is, standards are inevitably going to drop because, as we know, employment policy now gears towards ticking demographic boxes rather than looking for the best man or woman to do the job. There's the Angry Frenchie. Yeah. Now he says, Gilles Waterloo, he said that he was actually approached by some people. It's a very sort of like conspiratorial drama type thing. That he said he basically a secret meeting in an underground car park with some people who told him that there were military aircraft following the plane that night. It may have had something to do with Freescale semiconductors. And I mean, a lot of people say things like, a lot of people are making videos about this subject, and they're saying dedicated to the loving memory of the 237. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that because there's no proof these people are dead. None. There's no proof at all. It is unfortunately quite likely. It's the most likely possibility, I think, but it's not certain. We don't know that they're dead. There's never. I mean, if you go to the Wikipedia page, it said fatalities 239 presumed. Brackets presumed. It's presumed dead. That's not the same thing as dead. And you can be legally declared dead. I mean, they must have been, because Danica Weeks has remarried. She's now got a new husband, which would be a bit. I suppose if her first husband turned up, it'd be a bit tricky, wouldn't it? It'd be like that TV show Manifest. I don't know if you've seen Manifest. Hello, Rachel Oakley. How are you? Thanks for joining us. Hope you enjoyed that. Yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying it, Rachel. Hope you enjoyed that. Yeah, planes get designed by feminists and BLM grifters. Well, we know they design submarines, don't we? Because look what happened to the Titanic one. All right, Dr. No has a secret underground Mesa production facility. Now, A lot of people. I mean, some people have said it's at Diego Garcia. We don't know that. There's no. There's some stories floating around that I knew the cousin of a friend of mine who's working at Diego Garcia, and a 777 plane with Malaysian Airlines livery landed, and everyone was hushed away, and we were told not to talk about it. I don't even know. I don't think the fuel would even get it. I don't think it had enough fuel to get there. Actually, if you look at like the range circle on the plane, I don't think we'd have the fuel to get there. Now, according to Ashton Forbes, it wouldn't need the fuel, would it? So I'm not going to say I'm dedicating this stream to the loving memory of the 239, because I don't know. We don't know they're dead for certain. What I'm not going to take any of this shit, and I'm going to say this tomorrow night because I'm going to talk a little bit about Miles Power tomorrow night. That, oh, you're being disrespectful to question the official story. You know, he brings up that point. You're being disrespectful, and you just want to sell books, and you want to make a star of yourself, just because of all the people who died, and you're exploiting them. We've had that with 9/11, didn't we? Oh, you're being heartless to the victims and the loved ones and all the relatives. You're being heartless and cruel. It's causing them pain. By that logic, if you're walking down the street and you see this old lady walking down, and the two thugs come up to her and they beat the crap out of her and steal her handbag and leave her, leave her bleeding to death on the street, right, on the pavement, and run off. When the police turn up, what do you say? You could tell the police the truth about what you saw, hopefully catch the murderers. Or do you say, if you want to be, or do you want to be respectful and sensitive and say, oh no, she keeled over, I think she had a heart attack? Because according to the logic of these people, that's what you have to do. Pi pounder, they would know the fuel load before it took off. That's the range. Yeah. In fact, there's a bit of there was more controversy because they said that Captain Shah asked for an extra half-hour supply of fuel. But then that's normal procedure for flights to Beijing, because usually landing at Beijing sometimes involves a lot of stacking, because planes have to fly around in circles and wait their turn to land. That happened to me actually on the way back from Las Vegas. The plane actually was about 40 minutes late because it had to circle around for a while above London, because there was no room at basically the runway was getting backed up. And that often happens at Beijing, so they always take on extra fuel just for safety. It's like they also said that apparently Zahari Shah, he also topped up the oxygen cylinders, the emergency oxygen cylinders, because he thought, oh, he's obviously going to need them because he's going to depressurize the plane and kill everyone. That's an assumption. We know that he was a meticulous for safety. He was a very experienced pilot. He may well have done that just anyway, because it's routine. It's routine to do this every so often, to top up all the emergency oxygen supply. Tessa says, wonder if any of those plasma laser tests went awry. You've been watching Ashton Forbes. I wonder, is Ashton Forbes streaming, by the way? I expect he will be. Let's have a look. No, he does. He's got some streams. I was watching some of them earlier. So this is the one I was watching. Ashton's watch. This is one from 10 hours ago. UFO community drama space. Oh, he loves commentating on drama. He generates enough of it himself. He actually doesn't have he doesn't have his own. I mean, he streams. He streams about 2 or 3 hours a day. He's very, very busy, but he doesn't have one going at the moment. Maybe because I know he's retiring after today. He says he's retiring after today. Oh, you mean Joseph Farrell? Oh, sorry, Tessa. Right. But I don't know. Do you watch Ashton Forbes? He's worth watching if you can keep up with him. But no, he has a day job. He works as he's actually an IT consultant at a hospital. He actually works at a hospital like I did, and he is IT. He's like an IT engineer. So maybe he's at work. Maybe he hasn't finished yet. But I assumed he would do a vigil like I've done, because it is like the exact 10-year anniversary right now. Let's have a look at the news, because there's going to be a lot on for the news. Can you see that? You should be able to. Yes. Okay. MH370, one of the aviation's biggest mystery, remains unsolved 10 years on. This is the Guardian. At least they can't blame it on white people this time. Relatives of the passengers lost on board. Lost? Yeah, lost, not dead. On the ill-fated flight. Wonder whether a repeat disaster could happen. Well, we don't know because we don't know the cause of what happened. We don't know the cause of this disappearance. As I said, I'm not going to go out and say that these people dedicated to the loving memory. We don't know they're dead. I would say that they have been kidnapped. I mean, certainly they've been kidnapped, and that is bad enough. And I think that there needs to be justice for there needs to be justice for that. The people need to be found and brought home, and there needs to be justice for whoever kidnapped them. For Naren, whose wife Chandrika was among the 239, says, I worry that by not knowing what happened to the flight, we are collectively vulnerable to a recurrence. Well, that's true, because we don't know what the cause was. I mean, technically, that's true, yeah. Every succeeding anniversary has been less about my personal loss and more about not having answers to what happened on the flight. This is Naren from India. Knowing where the flight ended and what led to its resting place in whatever form or shape remains important. It is the question I come back to in a while, with a sense of agitation, even frustration I may never know in my lifetime. Yeah. It's 10 years gone, MH370, 10 years gone. Yeah, it's isn't that sad? That's so sad. Names of the missing passengers are written on puzzle-shaped cards. Yeah, it is a puzzle. They're saying that it is a puzzle, yeah. That's Captain Shah. Amateur sleuth Blaine Gibson, a lawyer from Seattle who became quasi-famous for finding MH370 debris on the beaches of Madagascar and Mozambique, has gone quiet. In a nasty world of conspiracy theories, Gibson faced hordes of online trolls. Well, it's the thing is, I mean, I'm against harassing people online. But the thing is, Blaine Gibson kept finding these pieces everywhere, and they said, "Oops, look, I found another piece of MH370." And all he found what looks like pieces of a plane. He found some seat covers and some little bits of plastic and some pillows and stuff like that. And everyone said, "Well, that's what it is, like the flaperon." The flaperon. Oh, I mean, the flaperon is a weird thing because it was found on Reunion Island the following year, even though the actual searching, it was the biggest rescue and recovery search ever undertaken, cost by air forces, by Ocean Infinity, and lots of other people. Found absolutely zero debris, and then loads of it start washing up on the coast of Africa. It makes no sense. No, it's just, and the Reunion flaperon. This is a large piece of an aircraft's wing, a large part of the aircraft's wing. Well, that is the thing about it is, everyone assumes these are pieces of MH370. The flaperon should be identifiable because every module of the aircraft has a metal identity plate stuck to it with very strong glue and rivets, which gives you the aircraft serial number, so you know exactly which aircraft it came from. Because there were lots of 777s. There are hundreds of them. They're very popular modern aircraft, and it just so happens that for some reason the identity plate is missing from this flaperon. There are some other serial numbers on there that some people say is definitely MH370. It's not proven that this is part of MH370. It does have shellfish on it, clinging to it, indicating that it's been in the sea for a long time. But as Intan, the wife of one of the cabin crew, she said in the documentary, she said, when I first saw that, my first thought was, who planted that there? Hi, folks. I'm on next Monday, Hatchy. I'm on Eric Von Essex's channel next Monday. That's right. When you showed those balls of light following it, was so curious. That's right. That's Ashton Forbes, the video that Ashton Forbes is convinced are real. It amazes me, says Neil. They can find a DIY submarine in the North Atlantic, but they can't find this aircraft. It's not only that. I mean, there was no sonic signature you'd get when the plane impacted the water either. Apparently, the SOSA system, that is underwater microphones, can pick up things like explosions, which would include a large aircraft hitting the surface of the sea. Apparently, from what I've gathered, I'm not sure if that's 100% true, but yeah, yeah. So we're in a mysterious situation, ladies and gents, definitely. But anyway, 10 years ago right now, the plane had just vanished. And we've been told an official story based on rather what I think is rather flimsy evidence, also rather incredulous conclusions about, for example, a plane flying over and through a nation's airspace and the Air Defense Command not reacting at all to it. They didn't even, apparently, it was only like a few hours later, they thought, we better call Malaysian Airlines and tell them this plane flew over. We don't know what it was, but a plane flew over, and we were sort of like, we were sitting there playing cards. We thought, we won't deal with it right now. Do you believe that? And then, of course, there's Inmarsat. Now, the Inmarsat data, I mean, in many ways, if this is real, then it's really a work of genius, because they found a way to for a satellite that's not designed to work out where an aircraft is. It's just designed to use navigation using Doppler effect and signal timing. They managed to work out what they said was range on the aircraft. There was a range on the aircraft, and so it's very clever. But I mean, is it true? Is it true? Pie Pounder. There is zero chance the Malaysian Air Force did not know what went on. Let's remember, it's not a stealth bomber. Primary radar would have picked it up after it turned back. Jets scrambled. Yes, Pie Pounder. That's what happens in every other situation. That's what happens in this country. It has happened when planes go missing. As I was saying earlier, airliners have lost communication with air traffic control over Britain. And when that happens, RAF quick reaction alert, immediately there's like typhoons in the air chasing it. Why didn't that happen here? Why did Malaysia not do that? They've got the hardware. They've got an air force. They've got a very capable air force. They also have the Australians nearby. They have a base there. Tessa 1-1. Satellites can see gum wrappers. Yeah, exactly. But also, Johnny says, I'm not sure 777s has flaperons. I thought they have separate ailerons and flaps. John, that's too technical for me. Apparently it's part of the plane's wing. That's all I know. But yeah, that's what would have happened. That's what surely should have happened. Why didn't it? What if this is all a big piece of... I'll say more about this tomorrow evening, because I'm going to finish in a minute. I've got to go and do the Hapanwo show at 8. What if what actually happened was the plane did not turn back and go over the Malay Peninsula? Something happened to the plane over the Gulf of Thailand. Because Tessa 111 mentions satellites can see gum wrappers. What a crock. Satellites can see wreckage. Now, are you familiar? If you watch the documentary, it's a very good documentary. It's the only one that actually explores alternative hypotheses. The Tom Nodders, these are people who use the Tom Nodder app to scan satellites. There's this lady called Cindy Henry who's interviewed. She discovered what looks like the wreckage of a plane. It's the same size, the same shape, and it's lying in the sea. It's lying in the South China Sea, which means that the plane didn't turn back. Something happened to it when it went dark. Tessa, that's right, yeah. if the theory is a planned downing of this aircraft, what's the motive? Who was aboard? Yeah, and the angry Frenchman has been asking this because his wife and two daughters were like collateral damage in this. It could be something to do with there were 12 executives from the Freescale Semiconductors on there. This is an American company. They've got offices in China, and they were involved in some kind of stealth research project, some kind of stealth bomber or something like that, stealth aircraft, some kind of component of a stealth aircraft. Now Jeff Wise thinks basically the Russians did it. I mean, that's not very original, is it? He believes the Inmarsat data, but he said no, the plane didn't go south; it went north. Remember, the Inmarsat could only detect range; it couldn't detect anything other than the range of the plane. And it could have easily gone north, not south. And he reckons it might have gone up to Kazakhstan because the Russians took it because they wanted to distract people from the invasion, liberation of Crimea. Do you believe that? Seems a bit of an elaborate tale, an elaborate story. Or we're going to hijack a plane so that people won't be looking in our direction when we go into Crimea. There's other ways of distracting people. Plenty of soap operas, celebrity scandals. Why something as elaborate as a disappearing plane? It's like these people who think UFOs are some kind of engineered neo mythology that's launders more down to earth secrets. I don't believe that either for the same reason. It could easily backfire. So I don't agree with Jeff Wise. I mean, Jeff Wise, he fell out with Florence over this because Florence says that the plane basically never left the South China Sea. Something happened to it very shortly after it went dark. And that's what the angry Frenchman was saying. Now, what Cindy Henry, the Tom Nodder, discovered was wreckage of a plane. It was actually not far from, just off the coast of Vietnam. It was not far from Ho Chi Minh City. It was just off the delta, the River Mekong Delta, lying in the sea. It was about 100 miles away. It could have got that. It could have glided that far. You can see if I show you here. I can show you basically on here. It's if you look kind of there, it's just around about there where my finger is, if it doesn't disappear. It's around about there where the plane was found. It's around about there where Cindy Henry found the wreckage of the plane. Miles Power thinks that proves it all wrong, but it doesn't. I'll be saying more about Miles tomorrow. So according to that, the wreckage of the plane was there. And indeed, Florence found there were people reporting explosions in the sky. Like a guy on an oil rig and some fishermen, they reported explosions in the sky over the Gulf of Thailand. And so, because there was a huge search over that area when the plane went missing, but nothing was found, or maybe nothing was meant to be found. Maybe that was whatever they found was suppressed. So why would they do that? Well, we'll talk more about this tomorrow. But basically, it could have been something to do with the Freescale Semiconductor people. There's a possibility that this could be some kind of accident, and the authorities are trying to cover it up because they don't want to be liable. They don't want the massive diplomatic incident and the compensation payouts. Now, this could be caused by the cargo of lithium-ion batteries. As you know, you've seen those news stories about the cars and even the little scooters bursting into flames because of the lithium-ion batteries, and they are deadly. They were very flammable. I mean, there was in 2010 there was a cargo plane caught fire just after it took off from Dubai. Big 747 cargo plane loaded up with lithium-ion batteries. Luckily, there was only 3 crew members aboard. They were all killed, but luckily there was no one else on board. The plane, if you look at pictures of it, the plane was almost vaporized. I mean, there's almost nothing left of the airframe. The fire was so bad that basically it's just a pile of ash. That's all that's left of the plane. So anyway, guys, so it could be it could be that there was some kind of accident, and then the authorities are trying to cover it up because they don't want to be. They think if they come clean and they said we had lithium-ion batteries on the plane, or was it exploding fruit? Yes, and the mangosteens. Apparently, there's these mangosteens, which are they're Malaysian fruit. There was some of them on the plane, which is weird because it's not the season for them. But they said there were mangosteens on the plane. It could be it was an accident. It could be it was just an accident, and that the authorities don't. They if it comes out that they did this, there'll be a massive diplomatic incident and a huge amount of compensation from the airline. It could be just an accident, but I think it's probably more likely to be foul play of some kind. That's more likely, I think. Anyway, guys, if you want to know more, tomorrow evening I've got another live stream at 9 p.m. on this YouTube channel. And if you're interested, at 8 p.m. this evening, I'll just show you. I'm going to be doing the Hapanwo show. This is my audio program. There we are. Rethinking MH370. I'll put the link in the chat now. There we go. So you can join in that way. Yeah. So that's what's coming up. All right. So I hope you can join. If you want to come over at 8 p.m. and join the live chat there on Hapanwo Radio, you'll be very welcome. And David Splendid Isolation, I think, will be there. But if any of the rest of you want to come along, you're welcome. If not, I will see you tomorrow at 9 p.m. and we'll go into some more details about this really awful case. And I just hope we find the answer to this. I mean, if the people are alive, we want to find them after 10 years. If they are somewhere and they can't get home, we want to find them, don't we? I mean, we don't want them. I mean, I don't know if you've watched Manifest, the Netflix series, but in that series, some of the passengers on the plane are held prisoner. And we don't want that to happen. If they are being held prisoner somewhere, we want to bring them home. If they have passed, see you there, 10-4 Welsh Ripper. Yeah, if they have passed away, if they have been killed, then obviously we need to know who did it and why, and the families need to know. I mean, the families have been treated awfully. You know, Danica Weeks, the Malaysian government, when they announced, the Malaysian government made an announcement that when, on one thing alone, they've been communicating with Inmarsat. They've been communicating with the engineers at Inmarsat. On that evidence alone, they decided, oh, that must be true. Everyone's dead. And as you know, as Jeff Weiss says, never before has a coroner in a coroner's court that rubber stamped a death certificate when, oh, this British satellite company told me. No bodies, no wreckage, nothing's been found. Yet they've been declared dead. They're officially presumed dead right now. But Danica Weeks got a text message. They actually sent her a text message telling her that they said, "Sorry, we're almost certain your husband's dead." How dare they? Oh, oh! Thanks, Five Pounder. You're very welcome. And I'll don't remember 9 p.m. tomorrow. We'll come back and we'll do another live stream. But thank you very much, all of you who've joined me. Welsh Ripper, Tessa 111, David's Splendid Isolation, Edward Snowden. I've got a lot to say about him. He's really lost it. And Neil. There's two Neils. There's Johnny Fettler. There is Hachi Hachi. Nihilist Lives Matter. There's the other Neil is up there somewhere. Yay, Neil Peel Paranormal Peep Show. Hi, Neil. And Saturday Sani. Coda. Hugo Rune is up there somewhere. Oh, no. Hugo knows where I am. But thanks, Tessa. Thank you very much. And thanks, Hugo. Thank you, everyone else who has been posting in the live chat. Thank you, everyone else who's watched on the recording. Do remember, 9 p.m. tomorrow evening, there's going to be another. It'll be a longer, more detailed live stream then. So thank you very much for joining me on this vigil, on this MH370 Vigil. Like I said, let's solve this mystery so we can bring those people home if they're still alive, or find out what happened to them if they're not. Because there's many, many people who love 239 people and no one knows where they are. Thank you all for watching. Hospital Port as pride and dignity. Stop the New World Order.